does the National Committeeman do? Jeff, come up here and tell us about it.
Okay, first let me put these notes down. They're going to become important in a minute, and you'll understand why. But first of all, it's a great pleasure to be with you tonight. It's wonderful to come out and speak with you. It's very sad circumstances that brings me to you tonight. I think, as you know, that Susan Hutchinson, the chairwoman of the Washington State Republican Party, was supposed to be your speaker tonight, and her father sadly passed away. So she sends her regrets for not being able to be here, and I'm sure that we all send our prayers and our thoughts to her and her family with her father's passing. So, but again, it's a great pleasure for me to be here tonight, and I am your National Committeeman from Washington State, and I'm also Vice Chairman of the Republican National Committee. But it might surprise you to know that I am not the highest Republican power in the room tonight. There's actually much higher powers in the room in terms of the Republican Party than I am. And I'm wondering if I can ask all of the precinct committee officers to please stand up. The precinct committee officers are the foundation of our political party, but they're also the highest authority, because no matter how far up you go in the party structure, it always drills back down to the precinct committee officer. They have the ultimate authority in our party. I cannot, Dick cannot, Susan cannot, Rice Priebus, our national chairman, cannot unelect a precinct committee officer, but they can certainly unelect us, can't they, Dick? So they are the highest authority. And so please, from my heart, let me thank all the precinct committee officers for everything that you do for our party, but also let me thank you for what you let me do for our party. It's all because of you, and we all work for you. So thank you very much for all your hard efforts. Please, another round of applause. I mentioned that the notes that I brought with me are going to be important tonight, and they're probably important for a reason that you don't think of. And that is, I'm a former talk radio host. That means, as a talk radio host, I have been professionally trained to take a single thought and talk about it for an hour. On and on and on until you're pounding the dashboard saying, oh, please, God, let it go. Let it move on. So, having said that, these notes are really important for what goes on tonight because it tethers me back to what I'm supposed to be doing tonight, and that is quickly getting off the stage so you guys can make money. So, if I stick to these notes, this is your only chance that at some point when I get to the end of them, I will actually stop and sit down. So please bear with me if I try and stick to these notes. I start with a question. I have a question for everybody in the room. Last month, we celebrated a birthday. Does anybody know whose that was? Shout out. Washington, I heard Washington. You're correct. Washington, we did celebrate his birthday, but that's not the one I'm looking for. Lincoln. Lincoln, last month we celebrated Lincoln's birthday. You are correct, but unfortunately that's not the one I'm thinking of. So last month, in fact, I'll narrow it down, give you a big hint. Last week, last Saturday specifically, we celebrated a birthday. Does anybody know whose birthday that was? It was ours. On February 28th, that's last Saturday, on February 28th of 1854, a group of anti-slavery activists met at a small congregational church in Ripon, Wisconsin. They formed a new political party, and they called themselves Republicans.
Wow.
February 20th, 1854, and politics was forever changed. 6 years later, the Republican Party elected the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, and our country was forever changed. 4 years after that, Lincoln, the first Republican president, won the Civil War unified our country, and freed the slaves. And our world was forever changed. Now think about that. In just 10 short years, the Republican Party went from its birth to winning a presidential election that saved our country and changed the world. Now don't ever believe, don't let anybody ever tell you that what we do as a political party doesn't matter. In fact, did you know, a factoid on my notes here, did you know that no one since George Washington has ever won the presidency without first being nominated, promoted, and elected by one of the two major political parties? No one, not since Washington, has ever taken the White House without being put forward by one of the two political parties. Now, of all the important things that political parties do, electing a president has to be the most important. And the Republican Party of Lincoln's time got very good at it and went on to dominate presidential politics for the next 70 years. 70 years they dominated the presidency. That is a tremendous legacy. We've been given that legacy by those first Republicans in Ripon, Wisconsin, 161 years ago. And what an awesome responsibility we now hold to carry that Republican legacy on. Last year, we did pretty well on that legacy. 2014 was a very good year for Republicans coast to coast. We won 9 more U.S. Senate seats and fired Harry Reid. We won 13 more House seats and created the largest Republican House majority since 1928. We won even more governorships, bringing our total to 31, including wins in the deep blue states of Illinois, that's Barack Obama's home state, of Illinois, Maryland, and Massachusetts. And here in Washington State, we gained 4 House seats, and we gained 1 Senate seat, taking the majority control. So yes, 2014 was a very good Republican year. But it will all be for naught if we don't double down and win again in 2016. You see, the world faces many challenges and is desperate for leadership. But our president has his head firmly stuck in the sand. Last year, President Obama declared that the world is, quote, less violent than at any other time in human history. Just a couple weeks ago, John Kerry declared that, quote, we are safer from terrorism than ever before. Does anybody in this room, does anybody in America, does anybody really believe that we are safer now than we were 6 years ago before this group of delusional Democrats moved into the White House? No. It's just absolutely remarkable. 6 years ago, Americans weren't being beheaded. Pilots weren't being burned alive. Children weren't being crucified. And Christians were not being kidnapped by the hundreds over and over and over again. The absolute truth is, and everyone knows it, the world is dramatically more dangerous. And likely, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Now, how many here believe that Hillary Clinton, as president, will make the world safer?
Bill.
Okay, how about a President Biden? Will he make you safer? Can Hillary, with her little red reset button, stand up to Putin?
No.
Can the woman who thinks that videos cause terrorism actually defeat ISIS? Can good old Uncle Joe stop Iran from dominating the Middle East and spreading terrorism throughout the world? I don't think so. And well, there it is. That is our true responsibility as Republicans. Because remember, no one since George Washington has ever won the presidency without first being nominated, promoted, and elected by one of the two major political parties. That means the next president, who will inherit a very dangerous world, will be decided by which one of the two parties does a better job. And the world is depending on us. Just like the Republican Party of 1854 rose to the challenge and elected the first Republican president, the Republican Party of today must rise to our challenge and elect the next Republican president. It's our turn for our generation of Republicans to step up. And I know the Republican National Committee, under the leadership of Reince Priebus, is up to that challenge. I know that the Washington State Committee, under the leadership of Susan Hutchinson, is up to that challenge. I know the Clallam County Republican Party is up to that challenge, under the tremendous leadership of Dick Pilling and Don Hall and Sue Ford. And I also know that you folks are up to that challenge, or you wouldn't be here tonight supporting your Republican Party. Your party, over the next 2 years, needs your help. It needs you to volunteer more. It needs you to work harder. It needs you to donate heavily. In fact, you're going to start doing that tonight, I hope, because in just a few minutes you've got an auction going on, and Dick is a little concerned that maybe the wallets aren't as wide open as they should be, and so I'd like to please implore you to open them even wider. There are lots of great items, all for a great cause. Bid like the future depends on it, because in a small way it really does. Your Republican Party depends on your support. Our country depends on the Republican Party. And the world, the rest of the world depends on America. It's our time, it's our turn, it's our Republican legacy. So having said that, let me thank everybody for everything that you do for our party, everything that you do for our country. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Thank you so much. Well done. And now I'm going to introduce my friend, affectionately known as Fat Ball